Hello students, in today's class we are going to talk about the detailed and explained solutions of the previous year paper of NTA UGC-NET English December 2019. For the better understanding of the solutions, we have divided the whole question paper in the 10 units according to the syllabus, and today we are going to talk about the solutions of Unit 1 Drama. Let's talk about some of the important things about this unit that were in the question paper. The first important thing was number of questions. 12 questions were asked from this unit. The type of questions was fluctuating from identification based, that means who, what, where, which, when, how, etc. Match the column, and the last thing, extract based. The final is difficulty level. The questions were asked from easy to moderate level. Now you are expected to note it down first, and then we are going to talk about the solutions of Unit 1 Drama. Okay, then we are going to talk about the very first question of Unit 1. Let's see the question. Which combination of the following constitutes the Triology Oresteia? The four options are Agamemnon, the Persians, Eumenides, the Persians, the suppliants, Agamemnon, Corfuera, Eumenides, or the fourth one, 7 against Thebes, Agamemnon, or the suppliants. The correct answer for this question is the third one. That means the third option. In the third option, we find the reason that Oresteia, which is a trilogy. If you remember, the ancient Greek tragedies were written in the form of the trilogies. That means they were the combination of 3 plays. And this is why we find Oresteia trilogy with a combination of Agamemnon, Corfuera, and Eumenides. It was written by Achilles in the 5th century BC. Achilles was a great Greek tragedy writer. Along with him, there were 2 others, and they were Sophocles and Euripides. Let's talk about the next question. The next question is, which of the following periods of English literature is also called Puritan Interregnum? The Puritan Interregnum, just to talk about the 4 options. So first, the Neoclassical period, the Caroline age, the Restoration period, or the fourth one, the Commonwealth period. The correct answer for the Puritan Interregnum is the Commonwealth period. The Commonwealth period was also known as the Interregnum period or Interregnum age. The reason for that, in fact, the Interregnum period in England, Ireland, was chiefly lasted from 30 January 1649 to 29 May 1660. It was just the time beginning from the execution of Charles I by Oliver Cromwell and just the arrival of Charles II after the end of the rule of Oliver Cromwell and his son Richard. If you talk about Puritan age, that is also the part of Interregnum. In fact, it started earlier in 1625 and lasted till 1675. Why do we call it Puritan age? Because the Puritan beliefs were very strongly active at that time. It is also known as Age of Milton because the great writer Milton was also presentable at that time. The other 4 ages are also important. The Neoclassical period, Caroline age 1625 to 1649, Restoration, that was 1660 to 1700, the Commonwealth period that we talked recently, and the Neoclassical period that started from 1660 to 1798. So this was how we talked about these 4 different ages of English literature. Now note it down, then we are going to talk about the further questions. Here the question from Unit 1 Drama is here. Which among the following group of writers is labelled as a university wits? Options: Thomas Lodge, Thomas Wilson, Walter Raleigh. Second, John Fletcher, Ben Jonson, George Peele. Third, John Kidd, Francis Beaumont, John Lilly. Fourth, Christopher Marlowe, Robert Greene, Thomas Nash. The correct answer here is the fourth one. That means Christopher Marlowe, Robert Greene, and Thomas Nash. The reason, University Wits was considered to be a group of those dramatists that were very active through their writing in 16th century and even after that time. The group was consisted of these three writers along with the other writers mentioned here: Thomas Lodge, John Lilly, George Peele and Thomas Kidd. In fact, these writers were known as University Wits because they were very wise with their writings, and along with that, they had been educated at Oxford or Cambridge universities. Let's talk about the next question here. Question number 4. Which three of the following writers are associated with kitchen sink realism? Options: Arnold Wesker, John Arden, Shelag Delaney, John Osborne. The four options given here are ABD, ABC, BC and D, and the fourth one A, C and D. And this is the correct one. The fourth one. That means A, Arnold Wesker, C, Shelag Delaney, and fourth, John Osborne. These three were the writers who were very active with their writings at the time of the British cultural movement in art and literature, entitled Kitchen Sink Realism. It was a sort of movement that started at the time of 1950s, and in these plays that were highlighting this movement we simply found that some sort of domestic life with a protagonist that was completely disillusioned or dissatisfied with the social and political ways of life were highlighted. It was also associated with angry young man movement because the protagonists in these plays were dissatisfied with the social, political and moral life exhibited in the society. The best examples of kitchen sink realism plays here: Look Back in Anger by John Osborne, The Taste of Honey by Shelag Delaney. This is how the movement circulated. Note it down, then we'll talk about other questions. Okay, then talk about the next question now. Which two of the following plays were written by John Heywood? The first option, Cobb. Second, the play called The Four Ps, The Play of Weather, The Spanish Tragedy. The combination of the MCQs given here: A and B, A and C, B and C, C and D. The correct answer for the question is B and C. That means B and C. The play called The Four Ps, The Play of Weather. The reason for the answer is about John Heywood. He was an English writer of the 16th century and he was famous for writing monody plays and interlude that could be easily adjusted within the plays so as to please the audience. There are two interludes that he wrote. The first, the play called The Four Ps, that was published in 1530, and the second one is in 1533 and titled as The Play of the Weather. If we talk about the play called The Four Ps, it was just a sort of a debate between four characters entitled as the farmer, the pardoner, the apothecary and the peddler. They were simply arguing who is going to be the most important person among them, and it happened that the peddler came up with a new suggestion saying that who is going to tell a tale related to the best lie. A best liar would be known as the most important person among them. So they began to tell their lies and thus the debate continued. The second question is here written on the board. Which of the following plays by Ben Jonson ends with the performance of a puppet play in imitation of Christopher Marlowe's Hero and Leander? The options given here: The Alchemist, Volpone, Bartholomew Fair and Every Man in His Humor. And the correct answer is the third one, Bartholomew Fair. In fact, it is a lesser known play written by Ben Jonson. In the play, we find that it was a Jacobean tragedy, Jacobean comedy it was, that was printed in 1631. It happened that the story revolves around Mr. John Littlewhite and his mother, and Mr. John Littlewhite is aspiring to be a playwright. It happens here that at the end of the play, we find that there is a puppet show to be exhibited in a fair. And in that puppet show, we find that it is just as similar as used in Hero and Leander by Christopher Marlowe. This is how the play ended. So, to conclude on these questions, if we talk about the pattern of the questions, then we find that the questions were asked from 16th century, along with that Greek plays, and finally just from the ages of literature. So it is necessary that you should work through the ages, the works related to the different ages, and also the beginning and the end of some of the plays that are notable in every particular period of the literature. This is how the questions ended.